Right, Andy, Connor.
Connor. Yeah,
Do you want to
fine with me. Johannes, good to see you. Let's sort of start with a sort of squad update. Anis Ben Slimani, what can you tell us in terms of him and any update on that injury?
We hoped actually to have him back on pitch Monday when we started. That was not the case, so it will be a late decision, late call for us, where we have to wait and see until tomorrow.
And with him, as you say, is it a case where you haven't got him on the grass at all yet so far? And hope
he's been a little bit on the grass. He's been outside a little bit, but it's also a case of us looking at the schedule and seeing what's actually the best decision for us to take. Of course, the game tomorrow is important, but you know, we also, after the derby game, or with the derby game, stepping into a week with 3 games in 7 days. So we also have to have that in mind.
Yeah, that's a trade-off.
It is.
Yeah. And in terms of the squad generally, is there any sort of other concerns heading into this weekend, or any of those players that have been out returning?
No, it's the same. Still a couple of weeks on these guys where it's still, I think, Lungi who's maybe most likely to come back as the first one. Barnes is still out a couple of weeks. Fastnack still out a couple of weeks. Must be it. And then of course Tony Spring, which we don't speak that much about, but that's a longer one, and it will be until Christmas, I think.
Yeah, what is it that
it's a back injury, where again I think so far they try to deal with it without surgery, but it can be surgery at some point. But it's a back injury, and that causes big problems. So not before Christmas with him.
Is he one that you had in mind to come into your first team group in sort of pre-season? Is he one that would have gone out on line?
It's difficult for me to say because we didn't see him that much. I think of course I could see that he played some games and he had some minutes here on highest level. So definitely one that we had to see and see how close he was to the group. Of course now that's difficult. So we have to be patient with him and see how it goes. First of all, he needs to be back on the pitch again.
Obviously got to ask you about the news this week. Narcis leaving, Paul Clements leaving, Harrison leaving as well. As I guess on a first note, how delighted are you for them to get, particularly Narcis, to get that opportunity at the championship level as a head coach? I think he's made a little secret that he wanted to step up.
Yeah. I thought you were about to ask me how delighted are you that they leave.
You can say it,
No, not at all. I'm very, very happy on behalf of Narcis. That's a big job for him and also well deserved. So no hard feelings at all from here. We only wish him the best, and of course also the 2 other guys joining him. He's been quite open also from the start, and also you referred to a media interview before this season, of course, and he had the ambition to go out and try to be a head coach somewhere. So it also means that we have had the time to prepare. And we have had the time to be quite clear on what we want and how we want it to be, if and when that time will come when Narcis was about to leave.
Yeah, and I'll ask you about that separately in a moment. But
in
terms of that, has it been a disruption this week for those 2 guys to go, and obviously have different guys in? Has it maybe been more so for the staff rather than the players?
Yeah, I would say it's been very, very little. We have a great connection to the academy, so we had a replacement from day one with a goalkeeper coach and an assistant coach supporting the group, and still 2 guys that have been a lot around the group from day one here. So it was not something special for them, or something, of course, a little bit different, but not too much for them to step into that role. And I think they fill out these 2 roles very, very good. So again, it comes down to how good the connection is to the academy, and we have a good connection, and we are having meetings on a weekly basis. So it was an easy decision for us to take to bring them to the group, and then of course we have to find 2 good replacements.
Yeah, on Declan Rudd specifically, clearly somebody who played here and came through the academy here, is local to here. I mean, that must be quite nice for you. I know, obviously, with the academy as well, but to have somebody who knows what the club means and who the club means a lot too, sort of in and around it.
Yeah, but it's also important for me to mention that now we talk about him as the first day or the first week that he steps into the first team, but he's been in and around for more or less since day one, supporting Clem and supporting the goalkeepers, and also being at the office a couple of days a week. So it's not something something completely new. He's been around, so he's used to the way that we work. He's used to the way that we communicate and the way that we train. So, of course, he's a guy with a big history in this club, and that's also important that we have these guys supporting the coaching staff, but also on the playing side.
You touched upon sort of the recruitment process, the fact that you've already sort of prepared for it. How would that work? Is it you putting names to Ben? Is it Ben putting names to you? Is it a collaborative process?
Definitely. Neil Adams also a big part of this. So we sit down in that group of we are in 4 or 5 people and discuss these things. We've had the time to prepare, so it's for us to find that, or the 2 best possible candidates. Again, what I mentioned with the 2 guys that support at the minute, and with the quality of these 2 guys, it's also not that important for us to get it done as quick as possible, just to get it done. It's more important for us to find the right candidate. So we definitely have names, and we have had conversations also with these potential coaches for us. And I think when we start next week, I think we will sit down again and take decision how to take the next step and who that will be our priority number 1.
That was going to be my next question, but you sort of answered it. The fact those guys step up gives you a bit of breathing room to...
Yeah, definitely. And I think, again, credit to these 2 guys, but because it gives us an even better situation, that we're not under pressure here. Some think, okay, we need to bring in a goalkeeper coach as fast as possible, the same with an assistant coach, but I think the quality of these 2 guys make it even better for us. So we actually have the time to sit down and reflect, and also have even more conversations with the candidates that we have to make sure that we pick the right one. Because, it's not an decision that should be taken overnight. And again, it can be 1 week, it could be 2 weeks, but no one remember that when we are in the middle of November or December. But we definitely will remember and see if it was the wrong pick. So I think that's important for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And for you personally, I know, as you said, you've been preparing for it, but after everything that's happened this summer, the amount of change, the amount of kind of high-profile things that have gone on, it must be quite, I don't know, is annoying the word, the fact that the transfer window is closed and yet still there's more disruption, on top of obviously trying to implement a new playing style and the way that you want to work. Yeah,
1 window closes and then 5 other windows they open up, so it is part of the game, and it is how it is. And again, we can also choose to do it opposite, where we have less skillful coaches in the group, and then of course there's maybe less risk that they will leave. We choose the opposite, to have great personalities and also great quality within the coaching group. And it's not only Narcis and Clem, it's also the performance squad and down to the physios that we have here, where I think the quality is on a high level. And when you have people that have great qualities, then of course there will always be a risk. But that's how it is. So we just have to make sure that we are at least as much as possible try to be 1 step ahead. So we have some names ready if someone should leave, and we're ready to start that process. So of course we have started something, and we were on a journey here, and have taken some steps, and now of course we need to wait for 2 other people to come into that group, and of course also get to know them and get the work started again. That's how it is in football, and that's why sometimes I say it's quite busy, because you never know what you wake up to.
Has it been a challenge, all these different things that have come up and faced you? I know, like you said, you prepared for it, so this one maybe isn't the biggest one that you've had to deal with, but the fact that it seemed to be one thing after another.
Yeah, but as you know, everything in football is a challenge, and it depends on how you look at it. So again, we know that's the way that we want to go forward, is that we have 11 players playing every Saturday, where there's a risk that they can leave because they play on a good level. So other clubs, they will look at them and say, okay, we will actually bring them to our team. So we have quality staff members, we have quality players, and for us then is to plan the best possible way so we can get in replacements as quick as possible if they leave. There will always be these, we can call them challenges, but there will always be these dilemmas and situations in football, and that's a part of the game. So again, we can look at these situations where we can really not affect it, but we have chosen a direction where we want great people, and there's always a risk that great people can leave to the next step in their journey, in their career.
If we talk about the football now, chance creation, is that probably the one element of your side at the moment that you're wanting to improve the quickest at this stage? Obviously, with knowledge that you want to improve all aspects, but that sort of ability, as you spoke about, to connect those spells of possession into real chances.
Yeah, I would say that definitely, but even more the effectiveness. But I think based on the performance and based on the game, we always have to look at the stats. It cannot only be stats. We also, of course, have to have that feeling. Okay, what did we actually see, and how was the game developing? Based on stats, we created the highest amount of chances so far in the season. We created the biggest chances so far in the season. We have even more entries on the last third of the pitch. So I think based on that, it was a step in a good direction. But it cannot only be stats. We also have to go back and was it good enough the way that we executed on these chances? Was it good enough the last pass or the last decision? And we could see that it was not always good enough in that game. So stats is one thing, and I think it was a step in a good direction against Swansea, but effectiveness and decision making on the last third of the pitch was not good enough. So that's something where we've been working on that for most of this week, and also been analysing how we can be even sharper and how we can be even better in these moments of the game. Because, like I said after the game in Swansea, with all due respect to the opposition, it's never a game that we should lose.
And how do you solve that? Because I think when supporters think about attacking, they think about individual quality and individual moments. But from what you said there, it sounds more like a collective thing.
It is. That's the approach, and then of course we need individual quality at the end. For the end product and for the effectiveness, and that's of course something you can train, but I believe in that if we create as many situations in training that look like the same situations that we get ourselves into in the games, then there's a better chance for us to actually execute them well. So that's the approach. We try to look at our game model. We try to look at the situations that we get ourselves into and see if we can find situations in the training and set up drills and situations in training that is like that. So we actually train the specific situations that happens in the game, and I think that's the approach that we take, and hopefully we will see tomorrow when we play that this week has been a week well spent.
Let's hope so. Is it also from your side about adding goals from different areas? Lots of people speak about Josh and Borja. I think midfield and obviously defensively as well. I'm sure you'd like to see more goals from those areas.
Yeah. So set plays has also been a focus for us, because we can see that we need to be more dangerous in that area of the game as well, because it is often the way to open up a game, to score the first goal after a corner kick or free kick or some of these situations. So that's also a part of the game. We try to again look at the whole game and look at every area of the game where we can improve and make sure that we cover all these areas as good as possible. So definitely an area for us to look into. Defensive set pieces very well, defensive structure and organization very well. So it's mostly the offensive part where we need more output.
Is that natural at this stage, given how you've spoken about how you want to build the team, that it builds in that way, maybe from defence first to attack?
It's always important with a defensive base where we don't concede many chances, we don't give many goals away, and also for us to be a team where we should not concede too many goals after corner kicks and these set piece situations in games. And I think definitely we have taken big steps in that direction. I think we have taken good steps in terms of controlling matches and being dominant in the games. And then, like I said, the next step for us to take is that we simply need to score more goals and we need to be more effective. But that's also the difficult part in football. And what I see at the moment is that we get ourselves into good situations, so we have to be better in executing these situations. And maybe it will take time. I hope that 24 hours from now is enough, because then we score some goals tomorrow.
Roughly, more generally, obviously 5 games. I know you spoke, I think, about the points return after Swansea, but in terms of where the team's at generally in their performance level, is it about where you expected in terms of at this stage of what you're trying to do?
It's a good question. I would have hoped, like I said, also after the Swansea game, for more points, and I think we have, especially the last 3-4 games, I think we have done well in most of the minutes in the games. So I think we're getting there, but also it's so even games that we play, and it's good sides that we play against. So it's down to small margins once in a while, and that we also learn in this tough league that you really have to do your best every game you play. Otherwise, there will be no points for you. So we have to make sure that the basics are all right, the hard work is all right, the collective stuff is all right, that we do everything we can in every situation to make sure that we get the best out of it. So if you ask me, would I've had more points, wished for that? Yeah, definitely. I would have hoped that we were maybe on 8 to 10 points where we are now, but again, that's not something we can affect now. The only thing we can focus on is the performance tomorrow, and hopefully that will be a good one. And I think for all the support that we have gotten so far from the fans, I think definitely we will do everything we can to give them a good Saturday.
Just a couple more from me, but on the game tomorrow, what sort of game are you expecting? Because I think when we think of Watford, you think physicality,
yeah, definitely.
Athleticism.
Yeah, definitely.
Is that what you were expecting from them?
Yeah, definitely. And that's also what we have prepared so far this week, that we have to be aware on their quite vertical game, that they can attack, with quick players up front. Physicality is a big way of how they play. They can run at you. So if the organization is not in place, if your structure is not good, and you open too much space for them to run into, then you can get yourself into trouble. So the structure needs to be well in place, and then we can still see that if we do that well, and if we find our positions quick, and if we start to make our passing game in a good way, then we can open up some space for us to hurt them. But it is a game where we really have to be on our front foot and avoid too many duels, and we do that by having good positions.
You mentioned the fans earlier. This Carrow Road run, I know you sort of inherited it rather than sort of built it, but as a coach coming in, it's a useful thing to have, isn't it? That strength at home, with supporters used to seeing a team winning over a pretty prolonged period of time, albeit maybe that's a little bit of pressure every time you do it to retain that run.
Yeah, pressure, no pressure. It's just, of course, we're in the football world to give and to create fantastic moments, and especially in front of a home crowd, it's fantastic to get a win. I really felt it the last 20 minutes of the Sheffield game last time, where you could really feel that even though the boys were tired, that they got that little extra push from the stands to be able to put Sheffield under pressure. And I think that was clearly something that we can use, and I know that we'll get all the support that we can again tomorrow, because it is definitely useful. So that's also a part of the reason why the record is so good here at home. And like I said, we just have to make sure that we put in a good performance so we can get the 3 points.
Just final one for me, I wanted to ask you about Hernandez, who's obviously a player that wasn't in the first match they scored this season, but I think in cameos has shown some pretty positive stuff. Is he one that you think is getting closer to being a starting position? Is he one that you feel can have more impact from the bench against tiring defences? Yeah,
that's sometimes the issue when you are a player like O'Neill, where he's actually sometimes even better when he comes on the last 20 minutes and against a tired fullback and against a tired defence, where he can really go at them. It's also a player where we can see that with the playing style that he has, it's sometimes difficult for him to go 90 minutes. So it's always a conversation for us. Do we want him to be in for the first 45 or 60, or actually put him on for the last 30 or 20 minutes to see if we can open up the defense, or see if we can create some situations a little bit more simple. So that's always the debate when we speak about O'Neill. But like we could see in Swansea the other night, is that when he comes on, something happens, and it's for us to make sure that we use that weapon best possible way. Thank you.
Connor and Andy.
Yeah, great. Yeah. Hi, Johannes.
Hi.
You mentioned the physicality Watford have.
Yeah.
In their team. Are there any concerns that you might lack a bit of physicality in midfield if Slimani doesn't play? Because I know that's one of the reasons he was brought to the club, isn't it?
Yeah. Now you see concerns, and it's a negative approach to it. I'd rather prefer to say, okay, if we do our game well, and if we do like we're supposed to do, and our game model is based on, then we will definitely have the chances. Then we don't need all that physicality. If we can avoid duels, if we can play quick enough to go around them and in between them, then we don't need all that physicality. If we're not there, and it's going to be a slower game where we don't find the structure quick enough and we don't pass well enough, then it will be a game where we have to bring in some physicality. So there we have to see, and we also plan for, if it's going to be a more even game, or a game where it's tight and we cannot really find the rhythm, then we have an approach from outside what to do.
And going back to Connor's question about the need to be more clinical.
Yeah.
Is that something you can coach, do you think, or do you think the players need to take it on themselves and improve themselves?
It's something we do together, and like I said, we have to analyze all the situations that we get ourselves into and see if we can replicate them in the training. So the positive side is that many of the chances that we create, they actually look a lot like each other, because it comes from a clear structure, it comes from clear offensive patterns, so we can train on that every day. And then I think the more repetitions you get in something hopefully at some point you will turn it into being something you've tried so many times when you're out there in the stadium every Saturday. And I think that's also where we have to improve and where we have to get, and hopefully we will get there soon.
And have you been happy defensively? Because defensively you've been pretty sound, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. It's I can't remember exact how many it is, but it's I think it's 3 or 4 games out of 5 where we have conceded less than 1 expected goals against, which is definitely positive. And I think that's a big improvement from where we started. And I think there's been done some really, really good work, both in the back line but also the midfielders and the strikers in front. Just some of these moments in the game where strikers, they need to track back. You saw that Josh lost it in Swansea after 15 minutes and he just sprinted back 70 meters. That's really what we need in the team to build that discipline and build that defensive structure. So the opposition, they should really, really feel that they have to do everything they really have to do to score a goal. We never give away easy goals.
Yeah. And the final one, Kay Gordon, he didn't get on the pitch last week, but he's had 4 weeks training this time. Is he someone that's close to getting into that team, do you think?
He is, if you only look at his technical abilities, because he's a good player, good dribbling qualities, good finishing qualities. He needs some, again, physicality and some fitness to be 100% ready. So he's not a starter for us yet. I would like to bring him in to play some minutes tomorrow, because that will be the first step in his Norwich career. So it's a guy where we can definitely see what he can bring to the team, but he's not ready yet to play 90 minutes. So it needs to be step by step. But I think he can be ready for minutes tomorrow.
Great. Best of luck for tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. If we could have cameras off, please.